Before his Oscar nomination, Riz Ahmed played wannabe terrorists, tech villains, and an imperial defector. For 2014's Nightcrawler, he hit LA's streets, talked to strangers on Skid Row, and learned how to improv with Jake Gyllenhaal. When I say Nightcrawler to you, is there like a first distinct memory or image or thought that comes to mind?
Night shoots. Whole thing is basically at night. And it was really the first time I'd spent any proper amount of time in LA. For me, it was all about the neon kind of nights in LA, and that, you know, it's a very different kind of energy.
I want to go back to where you were in your career. And I read this quote that you gave where you said that it was Idris Elba who told you you got to get to America to find more acting opportunities.
Where I was at in my career was that I'd done a kind of bunch of indie films in the UK. Things were at a bit of a standstill. And I wasn't really sure if I could make it work as an actor, quite honestly. And I was just, running out of money, honestly, running out of faith and opportunities. I met generally with the writer-director, Dan Gilroy, and he told me he had this project, but he said, there's this role that I'm definitely not right for. I need someone very LA, and I'm like this trained British actor, and it wouldn't work. But we got along well enough. He said, if you want to throw me a tape, just do it. And I did. He really responded to it. And then he said, have you come out to LA for a chemistry read with Jake Gyllenhaal? I was like, oh my God, that's exciting. When am I coming? He said, well, we don't have the budget to fly you here. I remember I had like £1,600 to my name, and the ticket was $1,200 to go at short notice. And it was really one of those moments of like, what's the chances, man? There's gonna be so many people testing. Should I do this? Should I not? Subconsciously, that conversation with Idris was in my mind. I decided to bet on myself and book the ticket, just spent that whole 11-hour flight just running the lines. Got to LA, met Jake, and yeah, they gave me this beautiful opportunity.
Was Dan like, my bad? Or how did he tell you?
I don't know, maybe he was negging me the whole time.
Maybe
he was like, you're not good for this, you're not good for this, you want to send me a tape?
Wink, wink.
Yeah, maybe just trying to get me to really, throw myself at it.
So I read a little bit about the research that you did. You volunteered at shelters, you visited Skid Row, you spoke with unhoused people, and I read that you went on a ride-along with the Stringers, who were the technical advisors on the film. And one of them said of that ride-along experience, Riz loved it. We saw a home invasion and a car that crashed into a wall. Do you remember that experience?
I didn't love that those things happened.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a crazy way to live. It was really surreal. It was like, seeing the city in a very different way, particularly for my first experience of LA. This nocturnal accident chasing, crime chasing experience was pretty intense, pretty dark in some ways, but also like weirdly fascinating. They were hunters, they'd be waiting in some kind of like freeway underpass somewhere in the shadows, just listening to police radios with all these different devices and just waiting for something to crackle off, whatever, like code 6, this is happening over here. And they'd locate it with the unit, they'd triangulate it, and they'd just go. They'd just be burning rubber. And sometimes they'd be there before the police.
So I've pulled some clips, 3 clips. We're gonna watch them. And I'd love if you can tell me what you remember.
Sell yourself.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. Well, I'm Rick, of course.
One thing I just noticed is how much weight Jake lost for that.
Yes.
I just remember him being on the exercise bike all the time. And the only thing he'd eat was little bits of turkey ham. He said he wanted the character to look hungry. And he was hungry.
Yeah.
I can vouch for that. I remember him once just I was eating a banana on set, and he was angry at me.
Oh.
Well, just don't bring that around me.
Fruit and carbs. Just don't come in with that.
He wasn't, exactly.
I took 3 buses to get here. I finished high school. I need a job. I'll do pretty much anything. That's me. Hi, Rick. So.
What's your address, Richard?
I think it was the first scene that I shot, which is always nice when you shoot your first scene as a character as the first thing you're doing as an actor. Introducing him, finding the dynamic.
I was for a while.
You trick.
Worked the street? No.
Wasn't a question.
The voice I got from recordings. One of the places that I volunteered a lot was a place called the Midnight Mission, which is down in Skid Row. There's a little kind of small kind of crossroads in Skid Row called the Nickel. I was just interviewing a bunch of people. People were surprisingly willing to talk to me. I think they just didn't know who I was. I was turning up this British accent, like, hello, excuse me, could I interview you? I think they were just thought like, all right, this guy seems harmless. And it was from a couple of people's voices, actually, that directly I felt like they just had an LA kind of vibe, but also a vulnerability to them.
Do you have a driver's license?
Yeah.
Do you know Los Angeles?
Yeah, I grew up all around here.
Can you start tonight?
Doing what?
A kind of like slightly cracked, broken kind of thinness to it. And so, yeah, I just stole that.
Yeah. I'm gonna show you another clip.
Which is why I'm promoting you to Executive Vice President of Video News.
He looks crazy, man. Look at Jake, man.
What am I now?
You're an assistant.
What's interesting about that scene is, I really have to credit Jake as well, is that the line, I think, is 75.
Pick a number. You pick a number.
But just as I was about to say the line, Jake, off camera, kind of in character, encouraged me to go higher. And I was like, and he goes, he went up and I went,
75 dollars a night?
Agreed.
and then he was like, and I went, no, 75. So it was actually really fun. Like, you know, when you're spending a lot of time with one other actor, you're rehearsing with them, you've got this trust and you're playing around, you can like mess with each other in these ways. It wasn't scripted. And it's because we had this kind of quite playful rapport that Jake kind of dared me to go higher than the line. And just as I was drawing confidence from him, he abandoned me. And then I was like, oh, no, I can't go that high. I've got to drop this back down again.
And I do think that that probably leads us into, again, a clip that makes me very upset, which is your last scene in this movie.
Steady hands!
I mean, the voice sounds capitalist. Like, you have to agree.
Use your Zoom.
It is a capitalist horror story, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
That's exactly what this movie is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a genius script.
I can't jeopardize my company's success to retain an untrustworthy employee.
You're crazy.
I also think this death scene is crazy because it's both a death scene and you getting fired. It's like a real millennial nightmare.
I do remember kind of like the way Jake was looking at me. It was so weirdly benevolent.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, bud, no, this is the only way. And he looks at you with such certainty and calm. You're like, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe this was the only option you had.
Sort of, again, like the nicest firing as you lay dying. It's a very
He's very gentle.
He's very gentle
Yeah.
after he has manipulated you into being murdered. You've talked a little bit about sort of like the fluidity of the genre of the film. Like, it's a horror, it's a thriller, there's some moments that are comedic. I have to admit that you giving directions is very funny to me in how like frantic they are.
Where are we going?
We're taking the next right coming up. Slow down, man.
That's too fast!
Do you give good directions in real life?
I am the worst. I have the worst sense of direction. My wife is sat there right now, just there looking at me, just going like that. Like, it's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So bad. I think it's hereditary.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm blaming it on my ancestors.
Okay.
Honestly.
I think that's fair. I do that
I'm
all the
blaming it
time.
on my ancestors, so if you call me out on it, it's racist.
It is. And you shouldn't do it.
Not appropriate. Didn't expect
Not
it from you.
appropriate, yeah.
It's a part of my brain that is not high functioning.
Okay, so I want to ask you about Relay. So does your new movie, it's directed by David Mackenzie, who did Hell or High Water. This is a thriller in which you play, I'm going to call him like a vigilante figure who aids whistleblowers.
I help people who see things they shouldn't have. Maybe should have looked
And my question is, like, you have a very specific moral compass in Relay, which reminded me of Nightcrawler. And you're very silent for a lot of this movie. You're playing an addict who speaks sign language, which took me back to Sound of Metal. I'm wondering if I'm like doing a galaxy-brained read of this character or if you did see like similarities.
The addiction piece in the film was a bit smaller when I joined it, and then it kind of grew naturally because we were kind of working on the script while we were shooting. David Mackenzie has such a free, democratic kind of working process. You know, we didn't control any of the streets we shot in New York. Everything is invited into the process in a very open way. But I did feel like, okay, I've experienced this before, preparing for Sound of Metal, and the groups that I'd gone to in New York for Sound of Metal were in New York. So it was kind of interesting actually revisiting some of those groups that are still going and absorbing that. But yeah, like there was a kind of familiarity to that. There was. I guess it's like, you know, you do a cowboy movie and you learn how to ride horses, and then horses come up again. You go, okay, I get to like try and build on what I did before, which is always helpful.
But I want to thank you so much. That was my last question for this. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.